Hi, I'm Karamian and welcome to ZirZameen. This episode will have 2 story collectors and 2 designers that use the streets to inspire their work. We'll also give you a short overview of all of our past episodes.
گروه زیرزمین هستیم.
اسم گروه ما زیرزمینه به خاطر اینکه کلا روی زمین جایی واسه ما نیست. واقعا چیزی اصولا نمی‌ذارم کنم. خیلی از این گروه‌ها توی ایران زیاده که زیرزمین کار می‌کنن. اما خواستشون زیرزمین نیست. زیرزمین هم یه گروه تشکیل.
021
This is not just a job for me, this is really personal. I'm an immigrant. People come to the US to build their lives, and I came to the US to build my life. I don't really see it as just work. I really see my political being as like an extension of myself.
This word actually it says we don't write what we want but what we can. It's just a reflection on what's going on now around the world after the movie Innocence of Muslim and the caricature that they made in France. People can perceive it in 2 different ways. So we always conditioned by political, social, economical pressure above us that don't allow us to say whatever we want. And at the same time we cannot say whatever we want if our goal is just to provoke people. I don't represent anybody. I just speak for myself. I don't work for a political agenda. I just do what I feel is right.
The human spirit is what fosters innovation. There is a kid who's 12 years old somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere in China figuring something out that nobody else has thought about. And that voice is going to be heard over the rest of ours when their innovation and discovery get shared with the rest of the planet. Wherever you are, whatever your circumstance, push. Push to do what you feel is right. Push for the set level of expression that you feel is required of your soul, because people will hear you.
Education is for the mind what experience is for the soul. And I think to shape a human being, you have to experience things. And I know probably the most valuable experience I have my entire life is being on welfare and struggling. Being up against the wall and figure out how to survive or face destitution. Those are the only 2 options. The single most valuable experience in my life.
4 years ago, Brandon Doman came up with an idea to convince strangers to share their life experiences on paper. This is how the Strangers Project began. The project is a collection of anonymous stories written as journal entries on the spot by passing strangers.
This is the Strangers Project. This is a collection of anonymous journal entries that people write right here on the spot. There's about 5,000 entries in the collection, and they end up being shared on a website and a series of books. Here you go. Would you like to do one too? And anyone's welcome to read or add one or ask. I started this project because I was sitting outside of a coffee shop one day and there was a lot of people walking by, and I was just really curious if they would stop and share a story. And somebody stopped within the first minute and they said, "What are you doing?" And I told them I wasn't quite sure, but I asked them if they would write a journal entry in my notebook about their life, and they did it and they had a lot of fun. And the rest of the day, a few more people stopped by, and I went home and I read the stories, and they just shared funny stuff and sad stuff and everything right on the first day. So I thought, you know what, that was a lot of fun and I want to go out and do that again. And you can have a seat wherever you're comfortable.
Just write a little thing.
Yep, anything about your life as long as it's true.
Hell yeah.
A first name is okay, but in general it's just all anonymous. So I think that people really have a desire to be heard. I think especially nowadays we have a lot of ways that we share stuff a lot, with our Facebook and Twitter and all sorts of things, but I think we are sometimes lacking ways to really feel heard, to really feel like somebody's listening to our story. People come up and they share all kinds of stuff about their life. So I think it's just really that desire to feel heard and to have your story listened to. There is the website and people can submit online, but one of my favorite parts of the project is being able to sit here and have conversations with the people stopping by. They get excited to see that somebody's out there collecting stories, and it's sort of a chance to interrupt their day with something fun, give them a chance to do something they might not normally get to do. And yeah, thank you so much.
Cool, good luck with
Yeah,
that.
thank you. You too. I've had a lot of people that have maintained contact afterwards. Some of them have turned into really good friends of mine. A large number of people end up being volunteers for the project. They help with things like tagging the entries with themes. So on the website, if people are looking for a certain topic, they can sort of look them up and find stories about that specific thing. A girl who walked by and she wrote a really brief entry, but she had mentioned that her best friend had just died of a heroin overdose and she was on her way to buy heroin because she didn't know else how to cope. And she wrote that and walked off, and I thought I'd never see her again. Fast forward 6 months, I ended up befriending one of the baristas at the coffee shop I did it at. And one day we were talking and she said, "Hey, can I write you another story?" And I said, "Hey, when did you ever write a story?" And I don't remember you ever participating. And it turns out that was her. I didn't recognize her because it was so much later, but she wrote an update about the direction her life had taken since then, and it was actually a much happier ending than it seemed like it was going to be at first. And she was working at that coffee shop so she could go back to school and get her life back on track. I think that people get a lot of different stuff from the project. I think some people definitely use it as a form of catharsis. I think some people just get an entertainment out of it. The thing about it being as open as it is it allows people to bring whatever they want to the project and to take away whatever they want from it. I'd like to continue growing this. I think there's a lot more opportunities to collect and share on a larger scale. And I'm also exploring other ways to collect and share stories. I'm going to be launching some new projects this summer that involve more audio work, some larger scale stuff with volunteers across the country collecting at the same time. Just really finding other ways to collect and share the stories.
According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States, suicide is the third leading cause of death for youth between the ages of 10 and 14. Dese'Rae Stage, a suicide attempt survivor, decided to use her experience and talent to start a collection of portraits and stories of suicide attempt survivors as told by the survivors themselves.
My name is Dese'Rae Stage. I'm a photographer in New York, and I'm working on a project called Live Through This, which is a collection of the portraits and stories of suicide attempt survivors as told by those survivors. I started the project because I am a suicide attempt survivor, and I was also a cutter for 9 years, decided one day that I was going to be a photographer, taught myself that, and then several years into having learned how to work my camera and make art, I realized, hey, this is it. This is how I can help other people like me. The turning point was when I was sitting in a hospital room being treated like a leper right after my attempt. I just kind of made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to hurt myself anymore and that I was worth it, even though I didn't necessarily feel it. But from that point, it took 5 years for me to figure out how I was going to help other people. I conceived of the project in 2010 and didn't start shooting until late 2011, early 2012. As of last week, I have photographed 15 people. The stories are all different, but they're all the same in that the person was feeling really helpless and hopeless and alone and in enough despair that they wanted to end their lives. People don't understand suicide, but if you put yourself in someone's shoes, or even if you try to, that must be an incredible amount of pain to want to end your life. I love life, so to me it's kind of crazy to think of having wanted to die and all of the things I would have missed. I'm usually the first person that they've told the complete story to. And when they're telling me their story, I don't usually interrupt. I don't want it to feel directed in any way. And then right afterwards, I take them out into the world and we make a portrait. It's interesting because they're in that headspace. So they're thinking about that and they're looking at the lens. It's kind of like you're looking someone in the eye after they've just told you this incredible story. A suicide is attempted about once every 40 seconds to a minute. And a suicide is completed every 15 to 18 minutes. When the media covers suicide, it's usually suicide of a famous person or a murder-suicide. They don't cover individual suicides, so we don't really realize how frequently suicide happens and that it's the 10th leading killer in the United States. They always ask why after people have died. Why don't you ask why before? And subsequently, you have this resource, this gold mine of these attempt survivors. Ask them why. I really just hope that by having those stories out there, I want it to be there for people who are considering suicide. I want them to be able to Google suicide and find this, because there are so many different kinds of people in the project that I think that you'll be able to identify with something. The other thing I want it to do is, I want people who don't really understand it to just get a glimpse. If they just take 5 minutes and look at it, you can see by scrolling through these pictures and reading these stories that there really are real people. It could happen to anybody. There are people of all different walks of life. I think that makes the stereotypes easier to break down. I just want people to be able to talk about it, because I really feel like if we can talk about it to someone that we care about, if we can say, hey, are you suicidal? Are you thinking about hurting yourself? Then that could save lives. I feel fulfilled already with this project, just knowing that it's touched as many people as it has. And I think it'll just keep doing that.
You may remember Jadon Blackamore from our third episode. Jadon is a reggae singer and songwriter, but he's also a designer. Together with his girlfriend, Carolina Gonzalez Iwanow, he has created a jewelry line called BPM. Carolina, who has designed jewelry for models, celebrities, and musicians, decided to join forces with Jadon to create something that did not exist up until now, an all-male jewelry line.
My name is Carolina Gonzalez Iwanow. I'm a jeweler, I'm a designer, I'm a musician too. I have a brand that is called Portamento and a new brand that is about to be released, a male brand, jewelry male brand that I'm doing with him that is called BPM.
My name is Jadon Blackamore and I am a musician, songwriter, producer, and I've recently been initiated into the world of design and fashion.
One of my tasks in this life is everything that I have in my brain, I can build it, I can transform it, and I can make it real. At the age of 20, I started to learn jewelry, and then I had the opportunity of having my own studio, so I decided, okay, I'm gonna work like really hard in my studio, 16 hours per day, like crazy, obsessive. The first year I started to work just with fire. It was really like love at the first sight, you know, with the metal. I started to understand how a lot of things are built. And in 2002, developed my own brand that is called Portamento. I met Jadon in Argentina, we fell in love. From that moment we start to do a lot of things together, and we start to design together as really organic thing. And we said, why don't we make a male jewelry brand? There's male jewelry in the world, but not a 100% exclusive for males.
For me it was just progression from music to express myself in a different way. New York City has all these manhole covers. I came across a few beautiful designs on the manhole covers, and I thought it was really amazing for designs that went into it. Even though it was something on the street, the main supplier, they come from India. A lot of it is sacred geometry.
Yeah.
If you look at it, if you transpose the image in two different ways, you get a different pattern. I got really inspired by that. Next thing you know, we were putting it on paper. Carito was taking it from there. She took the process from me drawing these sketches to actually making it a manifestation, a real product that you can touch.
He's a Rastafari. I'm a Rastafari too. And we really believe in God, and we really are into the mystical of this life. And these streets that we love from the cities of the world have this mystical information that you step over it, and it's a craft, a big, thick piece of art that you step over and you don't realize that. But also we work with his lyrics.
We have sayings like rise and never fall, peace and love, roots and culture. These are just affirmations of positive vibration, freedom, music, Rastafari, light, bless, humbleness. This is what I'm saying in a rub-a-dub style. This is how we're doing it. We're just pretty much working with the vibe of musical expression, word, sound, and power. We're supportive of all up-and-coming artists as well. All artists, independent artists that have an idea. Go patent it, do it, you know, produce it, you know, bring your ideas to a reality.
Make real an idea. That is really nice for the soul, because that gives you hope. Oh, I don't need no one but me to make something exist in this world.
Salute.
Adios.
Ciao.
Thank you.
And this is the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. We wish you well. He has created a jewelry line called BPM. Oh my God, Sahad. Jewelry. Jewelry, 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 jewelry.